Welcome to Exit the Matrix, Stories of Success, with your host, Jane Slack-Smith, where we celebrate the incredible journeys of individuals who've transcended their limitations and achieved extraordinary success.
Hello, it's Jane Slack-Smith here, and I'm the host of Exit the Matrix, Stories of Success. And I have another inspiring guest today that's going to give us a glimpse into his sliding door moment so that we can recognize those in our own lives. Now, I have Sean with me. Sean Hemeon, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, look, Sean is a multifaceted artist, actor, writer, storyteller. You may recognize that face from his standout roles in ABC's 911 alongside Angela Bassett, Criminal
Yes.
Minds, and one of my favorites that I don't usually tell people, True Blood. But beyond the screen, Sean is also a creator in every sense, bringing stories to life on stage, on the page, and through his production company. So right now, he is channeling his talents into something deeply personal, his debut memoir, The Good Little Drug Lord, a journey of transformation, self-discovery, and the unexpected twists that shape your life. So in this conversation today with Sean, we're going to just explore one or two of the twists that really shaped who Sean is today and how he presents and turns up for his audiences, for his readers, and for everyone and for us. So let's dive in. Sean, welcome to Exit the Matrix.
What an intro. I need to take you with me wherever I go. You need to do that intro for me everywhere I go.
I'm in. Just get me that flight over to LA and I'm there.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, Sean, sliding door moments. I'm sure you've had a few, but I'd love to take you back to the most memorable one that's really, I guess, set you up to where you are today.
The one that set me up to where I am today, the main one, I will say, and now going 20 years on, in April, I'll have 20 years of sobriety. And in these 20 years, I still say the decision to get sober is still the best decision of my life. And I will stand by that until I'm no longer here, but it's still the best decision I've ever made.
And tell me what kind of brought you to point? Like, I'm sure there's a bit of a
We have
backstory.
20 minutes, 30, 25. No, I'm just like, I was thinking about, what does define, like, the sliding door moments is those choices, the door opens and we choose to walk through. And in recovery, we do say very, we call them, the window opens, the window of clarity. Something just opens and it may just be a little slit. It may be like a big old door and you just have enough to like jump through it. And we talk about those as, sometimes we're led to those, and not just in recovery, by bottoming out in a behavior, in a person, in jobs that we just cannot do for another day without any kind of purpose.
Yeah.
So we talk about those all the time in recovery. When I refer to recovery, I mean, yes, I do 12 steps, but I just mean recovery-minded people, friends. They don't have to be 12 steps, books, therapists, that's what I mean by recovery. Everything focused on the healing of, essentially for me, my past. And what got me to sobriety, I'm gonna try real hard to do like the 5-minute abridged,
It's
the
fine.
Cliff Notes. Yeah, it just, hey, she did mention a book. It's in a book, but I'm not trying to sell you on the book. I'm just saying, like, if you want the full version, the Good Little Drug Lord is there for you. Yeah, I was. So, how about this? I was a closeted gay Mormon boy in the 90s. The end. There you go. What else do you need? No.
And that drove you to drink.
And that, yeah, so, okay, yeah, so, and that, and then that drove me to, and alcoholism ran in my family. I was pretty primed for it. So by the time I graduated from high school, I was relieving my angst, my torment. I thought God cursed me with gayness and therefore hated me. So all my existential crises that I was going through, like, alcohol was very good at making me feel better. So of course I was going to drink it. And then you become, dependent upon it because you need it all the time to sort of feel good about yourself. And yeah, honestly, what's wrong with that? I was trying to, do the best that I could with what I was given, and what I thought I was given was completely unfair, even at that
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And so in the hard part was this distance that was being created between me and my mother and I. We were very close growing up, but when hormones were kicking in at 13, and I was like, oop, my mother, a very devout Mormon, and I was a best little Mormon boy up to that point. But, realizing I had this terrible, disgusting secret, it just
Mm.
tore us apart. And when I came out to her at 19, I had ended a relationship with my very undercover boyfriend all 3 years of high school. I know, total cliche. I am a total football captain, homecoming court, dating undercover my best friend. I am a walking cliche. I get it. I get it. My superlative senior year was typical senior. So
How did my son's in senior year at the moment, so I'm now worried about what I'm missing. But tell me, how did your mum react?
so again, the 90s, Mormon. So her very first word, the very first things she said to me was a panicked look on her face, and she was like, "Do you have AIDS?" And I was like, Mom, no. We get that now. I'll forgive her for the 90s and that whole thing, but still, it's kind of absurd. And then she started crying because she was like, I'll never have grandkids, even though I come from a family of 7 children. So of course she'll have grandkids, and of course
She'll be fine.
she'll be fine.
Sorted.
But the point, the takeaway is, this was exactly what I thought would happen. My mother does not accept me. I'm a complete rejected failure, continue to be abandoned. That's the story of my life. Cool. I'm going to go off the deep end and be an absolute rebel. I'm going to prove to God and my mother how bad I can hurt myself. I'm going to punish them by punishing myself. So I went and dated a crystal meth dealer.
Wow. So you went like top shelf.
Oh, I went top shelf. And now, again, for the purpose of this podcast, I'm going to say I went top shelf, and then I did the most beautiful swan dive just over whatever, 150 feet, just down into that water.
Paint me
Because,
with it. Tell me.
all right. Oh, I mean, I'm like I said, Cliff Notes, but um, I was with that dealer, and my addiction, of course, accelerated. I could not stay in school. I was in theater school, could not stay in school. He could not keep up with my addiction. I thought he was terrible at it. So I was like, I can do it better. I'm a 21, 22-year-old, so I think I'm invincible. I think consequences will never happen to me. Lo and behold, I fall asleep at the wheel. I drive my car under a Mack truck. I do better than him at dealing, but so good. The U.S. government, wants a piece of it, meaning I got arrested, and I had federal investigators tell me that they needed information and to keep doing what I was doing, wink, wink, nod, nod, in order to get them that information. And I was like, you do realize everybody knows I'm arrested. They're not going to deal with me. I'm going to have to deal in amounts I've never thought I would ever. So I was forced to deal greater amounts in order to give them information. And I started trafficking through airports. By the way, I'm not bragging. I am not.
We're
This
going
is
from
just,
the before.
yeah.
We're on a journey here.
This
This
is
is not cliff notes of how to create a
this is
business.
yeah. Just there's
Sliding
no
door
bragging
moment
here.
coming.
Sliding door moment. Because and so anyway, I'll get to that because I will say we got to the
I've got
place.
to just say, just a little pause here. I'm sitting here going, wow, he's bringing so much material to 911. Like, do these know the
I
background?
played a AUSA. I played a United States attorney. I played the guy that wanted to put me in jail, and that was, it was like I got experience here. But what ended up happening was all the things that and this happens to addicts, alcoholics all the time. You never think the consequences will happen. They all happened. My life was threatened by, mafioso type people putting guns in my face. Somebody died and I failed to act soon enough to save his life. I got terribly depressed. The addiction accelerated. So by the point I got to my case, my hearing for my sentencing, I gave up on life. I owed the mafioso guy money. I was ashamed of the person dying. I couldn't control my addiction. I was expecting to go to prison. My case was dismissed. Do not ask me how, because I still don't know to this day. because I never ratted. That was the other battle in my mind. I didn't want to live with the shame of being a rat because I saw too many movies and stuff. But I also didn't care. I just gave up on life. This was my slow suicide, and it was like my last sort of ditch effort to sort of piece together something. Fine, I'll go to prison for 10 plus years. Anyway, read the book. Because it ends,
Watch a link.
yeah, because it ends with a few weeks after I was dismissed, it ends with this major sliding door moment, which began everything for me. I think it was
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
You're in that fuzz of addiction and escalation, be it forced by the feds or whatever. The people who are taking these drugs and their lives being affected, did that ever like hit you until you got to the death of the person, you felt some remorse? Like, was the kind of the consequences of the sale, once you handed it over, did you have any kind of guilt about that?
Now, a quick word from our sponsor, Your Success Club. Your Success Club is a group of vibrant, abundance seekers. If you subscribe to exitthematrix.io, we are going to drop you into the club room, which has lots of goodies, resources, and a free gift just for subscribing. Now, back to the podcast.
I so very much appreciate you asking me that question, because I am surprised after doing so many interviews like this, you were the first one to ask me that, because I became very conscious of it. I became very hyper vigilant of the signs that people were turning into addicts. And I could see these people over the course of months, less than months even sometimes, the acceleration of their addiction. Of course, I wasn't saying that about myself, even though if I was fully in the same boat. But I would see that, and I'm the one that would provide that for them.
Yeah.
I'm the one, but they would give me money. Sure, it's a two-way street. I get it. But I saw that there was a point where I was like, that person got arrested, or that person this, or, this person lost their job, or my goodness, look at them now. Like they're like skin and bones, or just stuff like that. But it hit me. But again, the rationalization of a drug-addled mind, of a paranoid mind. Thankfully, I mean, you reminded me, even then, I still had a little bit of humanity still going in me, if I was able to spot that.
Yeah.
Which awareness enough to see when it came time to get sober, I jumped through that window. And I want to get to recovery, but just how I got there real quick. I was living in an abandoned apartment that would flood out when it would rain. So I was living on an air mattress. I had a running mate, this beautiful girl who was just with me the entire time, but we were very close. And she said she wanted to go to rehab. And I was like, you can do that? I was so naive and confused that it was an option for me, sitting on this air mattress in this flooded out apartment. And I'm doing
like an air mattress on water.
I'm just sitting there, and I'm smoking the meth at this point. Like I'm full on in it and stuff. And so I was like, I remember like, okay, 2 weeks is my 23rd birthday, and we'll stop then, and we'll have a going away party. And so we had a going away party. The clubs, they all knew me because I was like the dealer. So they like gave me space, and I did the whole thing. And then it came the morning when I said I was gonna, go get help. And that was the true moment, the true the disassociation of, for the first time, seeing I had zero control. I literally watched my body pick up the pipe and the stuff like that. And I'm screaming in my head, stop, stop. And it's like, I have no control. And then I actually thought I really did it. I really thought I went crazy. Like truly, I couldn't finish thoughts. And then that was the thing that broke me. That was the thing that shattered all illusions or disillusions. And that's the thing that opened the window. I mean, just slightly. It's just slightly enough where suddenly I'm in my body, truly, and I'm like looking around, and I was so confused with where I was, because it all came back in, and I was like, what is happening? And then I went, cried with my friend, and we both called our parents, and hers drove 8 hours from Boston down to DC that day to get her. Mine came and rescued me. I know.
It's your mum that you hadn't spoke to for like 4 years. You asked her to come rescue you?
So I pushed my parents away. the part where I did not talk to my mom, that came 12 years later. That came 12 years later as I got into more recovery and I saw how this relationship, not only with this Mormon mother who did not believe that I should marry the man I love, the list goes on top of her just being a very depressed woman, not dealing with her own past stuff, the damage that does as well, having to create distance.
Be it Mormon or be it belief, she gave you that humanity whilst you had that awareness. So I guess, something did land for good.
I absolutely agree with that. I totally do. And that's why, when I was out there, especially the last 6 months, I pushed my parents away. Here's the humanity. When I realized that this window that was open, that I was just barely like looking out, like, oh my gosh, I need to go. I need to do something. We called a rehab and they're like, we have beds tonight. And I was like, okay, what do we do? But I saw the window closing and I did not think I could reach out to my parents.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, from that window, I picked up the phone and all I said was, Mom. That's all she heard. And she goes, where are you? And they reached through the window and pulled me out. Because that window, I was like, that window was closing.
Yeah.
Now I know my story is like, that's highly unusual. I mean, I really did it. I mean, it's obvious that I should be sober, but that's my level of bottom. That's my level of where I needed to go in my journey. And I've met many people, many fellows, gals, guys, that their bottom is where it met them. And when I say bottom, I also mean just sometimes that leads to their sliding glass door moment. The window opens and they jump through.
And
So
take me through
yeah.
that. So we've got the windows opened, they've dragged you through. You've seen it, but maybe not brave enough to step into
Well, I
it.
reached out for their hand. I don't want to say my parents like forced me
Gone
into
through.
recovery.
You've gone through the window.
I've gone through the
Joint
window.
effort.
I reached out a hand and they helped pull me out, I will say. And so
And
I
so you've
slept.
then
Sorry, go
gone
ahead.
into rehab, and that
Yeah,
experience was
yeah.
successful.
Recovery stuck. I slept for 2 weeks and then I went to rehab and then I went to an outpatient program. And in outpatient, my counselor, God bless him, beautiful man, we still connect today. He was like, what is it you want to do in your life? What is the thing that makes you like lights you up? Like he immediately got on to like, we're going to live life now. And I was still back here like, I don't know what to do. Like I didn't know how to function. I couldn't function in my life. I was just everything was overwhelming. And he was already on to like, what do you want to do? And I had acted in theater school and other places. And I was like, I want to be an actor. And he was like, great, that's what we're doing. And I was like, what? He's like, you're going to finish this outpatient program and you're going out to LA. And I'm like, okay.
Let's put you where all the really healthy people are.
Well, unfortunately, LA, yes, and LA has had and has some of the best 12-step, but also recovery in the world. I mean, the advent of Zoom during our pandemic, or the pandemic, ours, like you were different than us.
We had it too.
The pandemic brought about, everybody gets to experience LA recovery. Now we get to experience all over the world, which is such a gift. So then I came out to LA, but I was broken. There was no rebuilding of my life because it felt like I never had a chance at building anything. So I was building, period, just working through it. And all I could do was go to, these 12-step meetings. I would go to 2 a day. I would just sort of exist in the first 5 or so years.
So how do you go from being, let's just say you're known, like you're at the clubs, you're a known entity in a world that you then dissociate from, and you create this new world and this new place with this new career, and you have to turn up and audition against hundreds of actors and get told no, no, no.
Woo!
Like, take me through the self-belief or what you
Love
really
that.
build on to take you through that.
I often say, the career of an actor it's a given you can act well. It's more about your relationship to your nervous system. I mean, that's how I've come to terms to understand it. Because those first many years going to auditions, I didn't know it. Later, I recognized the fact that I was basically forcing myself into a panic attack every other day because I'd be going to these auditions and like sitting through a panic attack and not knowing it. Just like, this is part of auditioning. We
That's
have
the
the
thing, right?
nerves.
There's a lot of us who sit there going, I'm not enough. And there's another like level where you turn up and put yourself in a situation where people going, you're not enough. Like, again today, you're not enough. Sean, like seriously, compassion.
I mean, this is why people like you hear stories about, actors like drinking or doing drugs and that kind of stuff because they're dealing with these very exact things. At that point, clearly, you've heard my history. I was very masochistic. I had experience with this. So for me, it was like child's play. It was like, I'll show up and beat the crap out of myself. I know, bring it on. Bring on the panic attack and the trauma. I got you. Yeah. No, don't worry. Yeah. I won't even get to the acting part because I'll be so freaked out. It's fine.
Just tell me I'm crap. That's good. I'm used to it.
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
So
Let's
what
go.
happened when they said, yes, you're on True Blood? Like you're like,
I know. And then it was like, wait, this actually worked. Like, what's happening? So I still had, I have always, I mean, obviously, since I was like trying to be a better drug dealer than my other person, I was always kind of ambitious, even if it was that, even if it was things before then. That's just a streak that I had. So I had a mind that was pushing me. Where the motivation for that mind came from, it's loaded. You could say previously it was probably coming from a need for validation. Sure, work through that. But underneath everything, though, is the love in the heart for what I do as a performer. I never, ever, ever am acting and think, boy, I want to be somewhere else right now. I'm always in love with it. I mean, I'm always loved doing it. And that kind of kept me going along. So it was when I started having positive self-talk towards myself, recognizing I was going through these panic attacks, walking myself through it, giving myself the choice that like, hey, you can walk away anytime you want. Making myself not be a victim of the fear and everything that my body was going through, just understanding that's the process that it was going through, accepting that I'm being there. And once I started doing that more, it became easier to do the auditions. And then the best part was once that calmed down, I could actually focus on the work of an actor. And once you really step into the work more and really into the world more, the challenge of doing the work is really what drives you. And then I was showing up in auditions in a very different way. I wanted to be there for the work rather than trying to prove I was worthwhile, prove you could validate me, prove whatever, fill in the blank. Mind you, even all that history of things that I booked, I was going through all of that. It wasn't like an overnight thing. And I think, there's instances of it still coming up. It's dramatically shifted and changed now, which is why the things I'm booking are leading to bigger and bigger things is because it's less about what it means about me and more about the actual work and the storytelling, which is what it should be.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know we've had like a long cliff notes, but you were saying it was sliding door moment, like this relationship with your mum, like this, it sounds like you went through as an actor, you acted from the ages of 13 to when you came out, right? Kept it all suppressed.
Totally. Yeah.
And then you had this competitive kind of streak, and then, you overcame everything. You've had a lot of experience to validate yourself. So where did it go wrong with your mum? Like that you were saying to me that was the real, like the biggest change in your life, like when you overcame that.
When I share this and when I say this was like the real sliding glass door moment, what I mean by that is it's like the kind of sliding glass door moment that changed my molecules, that just launched me into some other stratosphere because I never thought it would happen. I mean, I thought getting sober would never happen. I thought that was impossible. But this with my mother, which I'm going to quickly share, was never gonna happen. And what I mean by that was, I 13 on, I became rageful at the Mormons for taking my mother away from me. I blamed them. I blamed I would do everything I can to attack that church. I'm totally chill with them now, by the way. But so as I've already shared some of the anecdotes, the stories with my mother, you kind of get an idea where she was at.
Yeah.
With my sexuality, wondering if I'm going to hell or not. But underneath that too, there's a lot of enmeshment things from our childhood, other things beyond the church and beyond my sexuality that made it the more sobriety, the more recovery I obtained, the more esteem I obtained, the more spirituality, the more understanding, the more awareness, the more I started to grieve the parents that I had were not enough. They weren't enough for that little boy. They weren't enough for that teenager. They will know, they will hear me say this today, and that has to be okay. So I started grieving that and allowing my mother to be who she was in that instance. But even then, there were things that were unconsciously on her part, probably manipulative and just kind of difficult to be around. And a lot of suggestions were like, give her space. And then I started detaching from her in my mind, but she could sense it. And it led to a very uncomfortable situation that resulted in me making the incredibly difficult decision, harder than getting sober, harder than dealing, and harder than being a narc for the federal government. I'm not kidding. This is what shattered my youth. My little boy inside of me was, I believed I was never going to talk to my mother again,
Right.
which is
It's
what?
soul destroying, right?
It's so, well, because most people feel like, it's your family, they're your blood. It's like you never leave the mafia. It's like you don't do that, no matter how hard it gets. But what if it's abusive? What
Yeah.
if it's not? What if you grew up in an environment where one, they don't know what intimacy is and they don't know how to set boundaries? Then you're treating the whole world like that anyway, because that's what they taught you. So if you want to redefine how you treat the world, redefine how your family treated you.
Mm.
What, and they go back and forth. So I didn't know that was going to unfold the way it did, but when it did, it did. So I was convinced I was never going to talk to my mother again to protect my little boy, to continue to grow and to heal. This sliding glass door moment came, though, as I grieved, as I moved through this, as I showed up for my little boy and became more of an adult. I would slowly start to see her. I come from a family of 7. So I would slowly start to see her at my siblings, event marking things, birthdays, this, then the other thing, keeping the distance, little things here and there. And I thought I was healing, like really healing. Like I was, but I also thought like I healed from her. Like I forgive her, like, moving on from that. But slowly she sort of started coming back into my life. And then I met my now husband and he really wanted to meet her. And I was like, okay. So I brought her to meet him on a little mini vacation. And I was like, listen, this is one of the first times I've been near her consecutively for quite a few days. And I thought it was good, but she made a comment that just set me off.
Yeah.
And then my loving husband, who didn't know he was doing this, very casually opened the sliding glass door, like a big sliding glass door, just very casually opened it, didn't know he was doing it, and just said, why don't you just forgive her?
Mm.
And I was
Okay.
like, what?
You
What?
sure?
You don't understand. You don't understand what I've been through. You don't blaming her for everything. And then he's like, no, just why don't you make the choice to forgive her? And I'm like, I'm
Choice.
so pissed because I'm like, obviously, yes, but also like, don't you understand how my life has gone and what she's to blame for all of that? And he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, but at some point you got to make that choice. And I'm like, son of a. So the rest of the vacation, I chose internally in my mind when I was around her to just say, I forgive you. I forgive you. I made it like an active verb.
Mhm.
And the craziest thing happened. And then I know we're on time, but she started sensing it and shifting. And she asked to sit down with me. And she asked if I would put my head on her lap. And I'm like, this is crazy. What's happening? And then she was like, I don't know where this inspiration came from, but I just felt the need to do this. And then she started petting my hair. And she's like, I'm talking to the little boy. I just want to tell him I'm so, so, so
Oh,
sorry. It was
gosh.
very unfair what happened to him. It shouldn't have happened, and it did, and I'm so sorry. And so from there, from that moment on, I continued to make the act of forgiveness where she walked me down the aisle at my very gay wedding.
Wow.
Like, I know. And so we're discovering depths of love we've never thought possible, and we're the best relationship I could have ever asked for.
It's
So that was
interesting.
that moment.
Your husband, he
he obviously could see the power in you, and he gave you the power of choice. Like it was your choice. You were the one in charge, right? And he could see that you had had those moments previously where you stood up and you stood for yourself. And by that one act, he just completely allowed you to have the decision and you to have the power.
And he didn't even know it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
He didn't even know it. It was things were lining up in alignment in my life where it was leading to that door being opened. And it was in that moment, having the awareness to recognize maybe forgiveness is that easy. I know it's harder than that, but maybe, wait, I'm the one holding on to this. I
Yeah.
truly am.
Yeah.
And forgiving my mother, belief in myself, trust in myself, all of that good stuff. It just flooded in. It just flooded in.
It's interesting. There's quite a few meditation practices where forgiveness is the feeling that it actually unlocks you to be able to, connect to your higher self. So forgiveness and gratitude are definitely up there for that. And the interesting thing that I heard a quote about forgiveness, and it was almost like it was along the lines of, when you are holding someone responsible for something, they don't even know about it. And you're actually the one who is, penalizing yourself. You're torturing yourself because of something that you're holding against other people, and you're not torturing them. It's like it's done in secret, kind of. You might have some slights, etc., but they don't know that torment. And so you're actually punishing yourself more than you're ever punishing someone else.
And let my drug dealing narc crystal meth example resonate for like
For anyone who
what
can
more do you
relate.
need? Yeah. What more of like I was punishing myself because of her and that Mormon God. Yeah, it's exactly right.
But with Sean, I always finish off these podcasts with a fun fact or something unusual that people don't know about you. And now we know that you're a narc and you're from 7 siblings. Like, throw me something sober for many years. What's something that people don't know about you?
I was the chess champion of my elementary school.
Wow. Okay. So there you go. Strategic from the beginning.
I don't even think my husband knows that one. I was trying to quickly think of something. I was like, that's
He's
a
gonna
good
have
one.
to
I
listen to
actually,
this.
yeah.
I tell you something that I love about talking to you about your sliding door moment. You're the only person I have ever heard refer to it as a sliding glass door as opposed to sliding door. And what I love about that is the fact that there is a visibility on the other side and there's this beautiful optimism. So I reckon we should start calling it the sliding glass door in honor of you, Sean.
Thank you. You think of a sliding door, it's glass. I don't know.
We're there. We're there. Well, look, we're going to wrap. I want you to go to the link below, or if you're listening to this, go to exitthematrix.io/S for short, /Sean, SEAN. Go to his website, check out The Good Little Drug Lord, because, hey, it sounds like an interesting read. We've only just touched the surface. And look, as always, we really appreciate you, Sean, for being here and sharing your story and giving us an interesting perspective on the sliding door moments. And the most memorable one, really, the most personal one, was just such a beautiful revelation. So thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for asking me to be a part of this. It was so lovely.
Well, look, everyone, please go to Exit the Matrix Stories of Success wherever you listen to it. It's just been picked up by the Los Angeles Tribune, so it's going to go out loud around the world. So go to Apple, Spotify, leave us a review. Let's hack that algorithm and get some of these inspiring stories out in front of more and more people. And if you go to exitthematrix.io, right now I have a special gift waiting for you. And look, I hope that this inspires you to look for sliding door moments in your own life. And as always, here's to your success. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to Exit the Matrix, Stories of Success. Make sure you subscribe to future episodes at www.exitthematrix.io. Until next time, here's to your success.